At the time of this recording, it's still Friday, but we're already hard at work preparing for YCS Prague. Speaking of preparation, there is an interesting deck that Rob brought to the table, and he's going to run us through it now.
Yes, now what I've brought to the table for you is the Melodious deck. Now they are exclusively light fairy type monsters, meaning that they're going to really get from all of the different fairy archetypes that you get, like agents and things like that.
Yes.
You're going to be able to use a lot of different cards, like Archlord Christia also.
And light is honest, for example.
Light
some
has honest,
other good support.
Light has a lot of support, basically. Now they all work around special summoning each other, and when they're special summoned, they get certain effects.
All right.
So what I'll do for you is I'll just quickly go through the deck that I've built. It's one of many different types of this deck. This one's just a quick and more aggressive one. The best way to build it. Yeah. Now, what we've got is we have 2 Cannon, 2 Sonata, 3 Araya, 2 Elegy.
And those are all the Melodious Divas.
These are all the divas. There are a couple more as well that I don't play, but we'll get to that in a moment.
All right.
Archlord Christia, a Majesty's Fiend just splashed in there, 2 Honest, and 2 Summoner Monk. Now for the spell lineup, we have 2 Valhalla, 3 First Movement Solo, which is a new card which is completely exclusive to the Melodious archetype.
Okay.
3 Transmodify, Raigeki, 1 Day of Peace, 2 Upstart Goblin, a Soul Charge, Snatch Steal, 1 Mystical Space Typhoon, 1 Celestial Transformation, and 2 Dark Hole.
There are quite a few cards here that you don't see every day.
No, there's also a lot of spell cards as well, and that's simply because we are running 2 Summoner Monk as well, and you want to have spell cards in your deck, well, in your hand to be able to do it, which is why the trap lineup is very limited. We've got 2 Royal Decree, as there's a low trap lineup, 2 Call of the Haunted.
So we could say the trap lineup is very semi-limited.
Yes, you could say that. And also Trench Tribute and a Solemn Warning as a staple.
No. Yeah. So how does the deck work? You mentioned special summons.
Yes. Now, when Araya is special summoned, this is one of your main cards. Now, when it's special summoned, it says that monster you control cannot be targeted or destroyed by battle. So the idea is to special summon this alongside Elegy. Now, Elegy also says that your monsters cannot be destroyed by card effect, and they all gain plus 300 attack.
So we got Raigeki doesn't work on you.
Yeah.
Dark Hole doesn't work on your own guys.
No.
Snatch Steal doesn't work anymore.
Can't target.
What can get them off the field once you got this lock?
Anything that is non-targeting and non-destruction.
Do you have any examples for those effects?
Triver would do it. Midolce Tiramisu would do also.
Right.
Just little effects like that, but you've also got things like Skill Drain, Vanity's Emptiness that are really going to hurt this deck, but there are ways around it which I've built into here. Now, there are a lot of ways to special summoning Araya and Elegy.
Right.
Specifically, what we've got is First Movement Solo, which, as I said, is for this archetype only. If you have no monsters, you can special summon a Melodious type monster from your deck.
All right. So one card gets you a big hitter, basically.
Yeah, well, basically what it'll do is it'll get you out of Araya. So immediately you've got a card that can't be targeted and can't be destroyed by battle. Its counterpart is Valhalla, which again, if you control no monsters, you can special summon a card from your hand, so you can special summon your Elegy, your Araya.
They don't really work together.
They don't work together.
But one of them is always going to get the job done.
Yeah, and also with Valhalla, you can special summon Christia out straight away.
One of the best cards in the game.
Currently, as we were talking about earlier, it's Vanity's Emptiness on the legs. Now, with the other ones, they also special summon themselves when there's a Melodious monster out.
Right.
Now, this means that they're automatically putting themselves under these 2's protection. This one gives you plus 500 attack and defense.
Right.
So the idea is that you want this out and 1 or 2 of these, because then they're either getting 1,300 extra attack or 800 extra attack.
Then your guys, even the smallest guys, pack a huge punch at that point.
Definitely. Also, Archlord Christia being a fairy also gets this effect.
Right.
So it makes that huge also.
It's going to be very hard to remove Christia at that point.
Now, with Transmodify, you get rid of one of your fairy lights, and then you can special summon from your deck one that's 1 level higher.
But Transmodify is not a fairy card per se.
No, you can use it with any other card, but specifically in this, it requires the attribute and the type to be exactly the same.
Okay, and this is true for all of these guys?
Yeah, so if you have a Sonata on the field, you can special summon Araya. If you have any level 4, including Honest, you can bring out Elegy.
Okay.
So
those are quite some good combos. It seems like the deck has a number of ways to special summon these guys.
Definitely.
But it does have some weaknesses, right?
Yes, as I said before, Vanity's Emptiness and Skill Drain are one big ones, which is why we remain deck 2 Royal Decrees and 1 Mystical Space Typhoon.
So why not more copies of Mystical Space Typhoon?
At the moment, simply because to make the deck as fast as I possibly could, I took out some Mystical Space Typhoons, placed them more in the side deck, just in case you don't need that much destruction. Right. Especially with Necros doesn't really play any back row whatsoever, and that's what you really need to be thinking about. Instead of the Mystical Space Typhoons, I placed in 2 Upstart Goblins and a 1-day apiece.
So these are like the first few cards that, if people are like, I don't like this build, I want to change something, these are your recommendations?
Yeah, you can kind of swap it around. This makes it a little bit quicker. There are also other Melodious cards that this deck doesn't run. For example, Mozarta. Mozarta is another heavy hitter. It's a level 8. You can either special summon it or normal summon it. It can special summon one light fairy type monster from your hand.
Okay.
But you can't activate effects other than light monsters for that turn. So you can't really run straight into an Xyz. Unless it's something like Exton, I believe, is light as well.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Right. So,
speaking of Exceed monsters, you will almost always go for a rank 4 here, right?
Pretty much, unless you've got a Sonata out. I mean, you've got your staples like Kane Gorgon, Crazy Box if you just want to have fun with it, Exton Knight, 101, Wind Up Zen mains for your rank 3, Diamond Direwolf. The list goes on and on and on. But you really want to try and get out is something like an Abyss Dweller.
Right.
Just stop your opponent using the graveyard whatsoever. Now, with all of this, after you've got your massive lockout, it's quite hard to get over, but because you can get the lockout, you can wait until you can make everybody big.
You don't mind if you're running low on cards or something, because once the lock is applied, your opponent is in a world of trouble.
Basically, and also it relies on the fact that 2 Honest and 2 Dark Holes are now on because of the new Forbidden Limited list.
Yeah, that really won out because of the new list.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your guess? If somebody would be running this, where would they end up?
At the moment, if you're playing it well, you could probably end up in the top 8, but that all depends on how you build your side deck. And as it is with every meta, you need to understand what you need to be swapping in and out of this deck.
And what you're running up against
at the moment,
another big factor, I guess.
Yeah, you're going to be running up against Necros, which, to be honest with you, means dump your hand immediately, because Trishula doesn't target and can get rid of your log.
Right.
You're also going to be playing against Spirit Beasts, which like to banish a lot, bring a lot of big guys onto the field that say that you can't activate effects and things like that, or they're unaffected by effects, which doesn't matter for you. Now, Majesty's Fiend is a big player there as well, because none of your effects are activated effects other than Summon the Monk.
All right. Well, it seems like this deck has all the tools it needs. It just needs a pilot who is able to get it to the top. So maybe that's a deck for you. You can run it in your locals or at the next YCS, of course. And, well, thank you so much for running us through it, and we're going to be back with another deck later.